Everyone, Oli here, and this is my review of Meglos, the second story of the 18th season of classic Doctor Who, starring Tom Baker as the fourth Doctor. Meglos is the 111th story overall. It's 4 parts long and is written by John Flanagan and Andrew McCulloch. So the plot of Meglos is as follows. On together, two opposing factions are irrevocably divided over one fundamental issue: the dodecahedron, a mysterious artifact which provides the entire planet's energy. With the Savants and the Dions locked in a crippling stalemate and the civilization on the brink of collapse, the Tegedan leader Zastor seeks the Doctor's help. But the Doctor and Romana have been trapped aboard the TARDIS in the time loop by Meglos, the last of the Thorans, who will stop at nothing to steal back the awesome power of the dodecahedron. So that is the plot of Meglos. Meglos is an alright story, a bit of a step up from the Leisure Hive, but it does have some faults from the Leisure Hive that still remain in this story. But I think Meglos itself has some faults of its own. But I thought the production was quite good. The sets look very good, and I liked how they're able to use the jungle sounds from the 60s Dalek stories in the story, and then it was used for the planet Tigella. And I think Zolfothora, and I think the planet where Meglos come from, looked very decrepit, very old. Not old. It just looked as if it was just empty, as if there was no life there at all, which I quite liked. The models look good, especially the dodecahedron prop, which was pretty much a large dodecahedron before Meglos shrunk it and took it back to his own planet. And I liked how Meglos was pretty much like a cactus. It looked silly, but I liked how Doctor can actually make sometimes the most ordinary things deadly, like the killer bubble wrap in Ark in Space and Kablam in the new series. And I love how if Meglos finds a host, they literally have like prickly skin, just like the characters, for example. Here, as we see, the Doctor as his Meglos, Meglos is pretty much pretending to be a Doctor, and he has this like cactus like skin, and that was quite cool. The script was quite good, and the direction by Terence Dudley was decent. And I do think Jonathan Turner's vision of making Doctor Who more serious from this season is starting to work here. Even though I do think this story didn't know if it wanted to be funny or comedic, so funny or serious. The plot itself was quite good. It was a bit interesting, and I think Meglos is without a doubt GNT's first good story under his reign as producer. But there are some moments that are a bit confusing and a bit unclear. I did like how the dodecahedron was pretty much used to energize Tigella, and I thought it was an interesting plot, and how it was stolen by Meglos, and which caused the planet to pretty much go to shit. And I also liked how how this story was pretty much a commentary for, like a mini commentary for science versus religion, as the Savants, they were like a scientific group on Tigella, and they had the Dions, who were pretty much the religious group on Meglos, and they worshipped Tai, and the Savants pretty much believed in everything scientific. Okay, and then because the Dions actually refused to let the Savants into the power room. And another aspect I like from the Jonathan Turner era is that he's very good with continuity. And Meglos obviously takes place after the Leisure Hive, with the Doctor Romana trying to fix Kanan after he pretty much waddled into the water. There are some good moments in the story. It's like such as the time loop, or the chronic hysteresis, as it's called in this story. The Doctor and Romana are caught in, as pretty much the Doctor trips over something. Romana chuckles, and then she pretty much fixes Kanan, and he says, "Thank you, Mistress. My repairs complete," and it goes over and over and over. And I also like the ending of the story when Romana pretty much told the Doctor that they had to go back to Gallifrey, and it was quite urgent. Only for it to be revealed in the following story that they're called back to Gallifrey, and it's assumed that the Time Lords brought Romana back because she was only used to help the Doctor with the key to time, and now that quest was long over, and there's no point of her sticking around with the TARDIS. Which obviously leads into the E-Space trilogy when the Doctor and Romana find themselves trapped in E-Space. I did like how Romana was able to use Tegella's rotating surface to try and lure Brotadak and Groggett into the Bellpot trap. I thought that was quite cool. The performances, I thought Tom Baker did a very good job in the story, and he seems to be settling into the new serious mood of Doctor Who. And Tom Baker also plays double duty and plays two roles. The first one other than being the fourth Doctor. The second one he's playing Meglos, who is pretending to be the fourth Doctor. And It was actually during Meglos it was announced that Tom Baker was leaving Doctor Who after 7 years. And I think Tom Baker did a very good job in the story. I think he really had a good time playing Meglos because you could definitely see like some sides you never even seen the Fourth Doctor show before in the story. And I thought that was quite cool, and it pretty much gives him some form of freedom playing the Meglos Doctor. And then he does, and he's allowed to have more humor on the show, and he does. And this Meglos does actually have some humor on the show. Sure, and obviously the Doctor himself. Then, for example, how the Doctor and Romana are pretty much trapped in a chronic hysteresis, and I also found how they were trying to recreate it to try and get out of the chronic hysteresis. How they were trying to reenact what they were doing to try and break out. I thought that was kind of funny, them trying to like remember what they were saying, and it was quite, it was quite a funny scene to say the least. Lala Wood is very good in the story, even though she spends a good portion of the story running around on Tigella. And I love how she was able to outsmart Brotadak and Grog into leading them to the bell plants. However, I do feel as if Romana has been dumbed down for the story, and she's complaining a bit and making some mistakes that I thought she probably would have like learned not to make. And I think I think she's a bit chancy in the story. I think there was a part when she was about to enter like the main temple and then or whatever it was called. And obviously K9 pretty much ran out of batteries outside, and she pretty much ran back outside to quickly get him and run back inside, which was very risky, which I didn't really like. And plus Romana is pretty much reduced to a damsel in distress role again. And in the part 2 cliffhanger, she's pretty much confronted by the other gas tracks, and she's held by gunpoint. K9 is in the story. He doesn't do as much, but he's allowed to do some things. But he doesn't, but not for the entire story because his battery pretty much dies midway, and he's pretty much just abandoned outside for at least a bit. So our side cast, they're all quite interesting. First off, we had Lexa. She was the leader of the Dions, and who worshipped Tai, and thought that the dodecahedron was a gift from Tai, who was, I think, their god or something. She was a very standoffish character. She didn't really have any reason to trust the Doctor, even before Meglos arrived. I have to pretend to be the Doctor. And obviously, when the dodecahedron was stolen by Meglos, and she thought the Doctor did it because of obvious reasons, and she tried to have the Doctor killed, and even at one point, she even tried to have the Doctor sacrificed. But obviously, I think the Doctor's name is cleared, and she pretty much reluctantly like works with the Doctor until she's killed by one of the gas tanks. She's played by Jacqueline Hill, who played one of the very first companions in Doctor Who, Barbara Wright, and I really like Lexa. Zasto, he was one of the leaders on Tegela. He called the Doctor to come and sort out the power issues on Tegela, and when the Doctor was accused of stealing the dodecahedron, Zaster actually believed that the Doctor was innocent, and when the Dions pretty much tried to like have like some form of revolution on Tegela, he was pretty much exiled. But it doesn't really last long because of the gas tech. And I thought he was a good character. Then we have Karis. She was one of the servants, and she was pretty much the accidental reason as to why Meglos stole the dodecahedron. And she later discovered that the Meglos was actually the Doctor. So I think she, along with Diedrix, the leader of the servants, helped Romana to rescue the Doctor from being sacrificed, and they were told and to tell the others what Meglos' plans were. And after that, her, Diedrix, assisted the Doctor, Kanan, and Romana to going back to Sulfur Flora to defeat Meglos. Then we have Diedrix, as I said before. He was the leader of the servants, and he was taken prisoner when the Dions staged the revolution on Tegela. But he was pretty much released when the gas tracks were attacked. We also have Grugger and Brotadak. They were gas tracks working with Meglos to try and get to dodecahedron, and if they were able to get the dodecahedron for Meglos would have given them power or something like that. And I think they were like meant to be like a comedic duo, but I sense there were bits of comedy, but I think they were dialed back a lot because of the serious mood the story this season was trying to emulate. And finally, we have the Earthling. He was brought from Earth by the gas tracks to as a host for Meglos, and he was able to turn into the Doctor, even though the Earthling still remained within Meglos while he was pretending to be the Doctor, and he tried to escape from Meglos quite a few times, and I think towards the end of the story, he actually does work. He succeeds in escaping from Meglos's body and is back to normal. I did like the part at the end where he was telling the Doctor that he didn't want to go home because he gets in trouble with his missus because he was going to come home late. So I thought that was a nice bit of humor in this story. The end of the story was Meglos. He a native from Zolfathora, and he was the last of his kind, with the ability to possess human bodies and change appearance, such as the Doctor's. He wanted the dodecahedron because of its power, so he can destroy Tegala and, I think, to restore his home planet. I think Meglos was a very good villain, and I think Tom Baker did a very good job playing Meglos. I thought it was quite cool. So the faults of Meglos, the story. I do think the story is a bit forgetful. Even writing the points for this review, I did have a hard time trying to recall like what actually happened, but because it was a bit of a forgettable story, but not entirely forgettable. There's still some good moments. I think overall, I think it's just a story that's just there for this season. The pacing was quite slow, which caused it to drag a bit, but I think it was able to pick up around part 3. I also do feel as if the writers were conflicted on their vision of Meglos. Did they want it to be comedic? Or because I think there were times that they wanted to include a joke, but it wasn't there. But or did they have to give in to the demands of J&T and Christopher H. Beamer, who wanted a more serious story with hard science fiction elements? That's what I kind of think. So to conclude, I think Meglos is a very good story with a very good script and a very good idea, but it seems as if the writer, as I said before, the writers didn't really know what they wanted Meglos to be, a comedic story or a serious story. Yeah, and a lot of the stories in this season were quite serious, with some dashes of humor, but I think Meglos probably would have worked a lot better under the Graham Williams era, or even not necessarily the Hinchcliffe era, but I think it would have worked better with the Graham Williams era. So I give Meglos a 6 out of 10. So my next review will be The Full Circle, the start of the E-Space trilogy and the debut of Adric, a very controversial companion in Doctor Who. So thanks for watching this review. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Please let me know what you think of Meglos in the description box. So in the comments. Follow me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Discord, links in the description box. Until then, see you later.